Kevin Howe, I'm a Stanley lad, live in Stanley, bred and born, Lennon Terrace actually, but luckily I've been able to work in my own community now for the last 15 years as SHAID manager, but the last 35 years as a youth worker. But I've been about a bit as well. I've worked in different areas right across the country. Bit of business when I was self-employed as a joiner. And it's nice to just get back in your own community, work with the people who you know. It makes life that easier to support them when you know what the backgrounds are, you know, what sort of issues are facing them, and you know where the services are that they can access. It helps on both us as delivering a service, but more importantly, it's easier for the clients that we work for to access them services because we're a direct conduit into them. The organisation was founded in 1998. It was a collaboration between Concert Churches, Bernardo's and a number of local elected members at the time. It's quite ironic because I've actually come 360 degrees because the research that was done around homelessness after the closure of the steelworks, where young men were finding themselves homeless. I actually done some of that research while I was on placement from Durham University at Concert Churches. So it's quite ironic now that I manage the organisation where the research was set up to do in the first place. So I'm quite proud of that actually. Because I've been bred and born, I walk up the street and I know 99% of the people. Most of the people are very passionate, they're very friendly. We get clients that come out of the area and settle in this area, and the comments I get off them enforces what I already know. It's a lovely place to live. The people are lovely, you know. They're really helpful, and I think that that is what I like about Stanley. Yes, you have your isolated incidents where you'll have violence and stuff there, but every community goes through that. On a whole, people of Stanley are really nice people. Yes, I've got a family. My brothers still live here. I fetched all my children up here. They're all live in the area. My youngest one's now at college, hoping to go to university next year. She's going through exams at the minute, so it's quite a stressful time for her and us, putting up with the stress. The other two children are, one works for the Inland Revenue, another one is a mental health specialist. And my other two kids are down in Wales with the mother, but which I keep in contact, but extended family, you could say. And we also are foster carers as well for teenagers, so we keep ourselves very busy. There is provision for youths. The question is it the right kind of provision, bearing in mind some of the statistical information that's coming through, such as high unemployment amongst young people, low educational attainment among young people. If you go back to when, you've really got to go back to the 1960s when you look at the Albemarle report, and it highlights a place for people to go and for young people to gain experiences and social interaction. And I think over the years with funding cuts, youth services changed, and it was more driven down a schooling route, which took away that social interaction on a one-to-one basis. And even now, youth clubs and youth services are diminishing even further. So the social skills and the values that young people used to get from youth clubs, they're not getting them now. So they're having to leave school in that period of time between not working and working. There's no one there to guide them outside of the family unit. The family unit is a good, strong thing, but I think you need that additional support and what's the word I'm looking for? Environment to test your social skills. In a youth centre, that is an ideal place to do it. There's some good detached youth work going on, which I'm 100% behind. And there's some good stuff going on with community buildings such as the Mugger that's been took over, you know. But I think youth work needs investment. I think we're working on a project of that nature now with Packed House, and why I'm very, very happy and pleased to be part of that is because it's all been done up to date by volunteers. There hasn't been no paid element to any of the work that's been going on in Packed House. And the local councils come on board with it, the local elected members have come on board, the police, several voluntary organisations are getting involved with it now. I think last count we've got something like 40 separate volunteers that come in to do it. And that will be a facility which will cater to everyone and all ages. There'll be a cafe in there. We're hoping to put in a radio station. There's a full training room going to be established which will be linked to the youth employment programme of the Durham Works. It's right opposite the job centre, so there'll be extra support for people who want to do job search, more over than the 10 or 15 minutes that they're allowed when they go into the job centre. It'll open itself up to potential apprenticeship opportunities and training opportunities for a whole range of people. And also they're going to run the youth cafe from there. And that's like the type of youth service which I was referring to previously, an open house where you don't have to sit down and do curriculum-based activities. It's about meeting people and talking and openly and honestly in a safe and secure environment. I think the people who were involved in it, it'll be a natural conduit for them. The referral processes will be easy where there will be direct referral processes, because the police are involved. And when I say police, I don't mean uniformed police coming into the premises. I mean police who give up their free time to work with the youths of Stanley along other youth workers. It starts breaking down the barriers. It starts breaking down the barriers, and it's tried and tested. The youth cafe's been going now for 3 years, and it has produced some really good work. The original youngsters that started at the youth cafe are now going into the adult years, and you can see a definite change in their attitudes and values because of that integration with the wider community. Well, I think it's a very, very positive thing. I think it'll be well used. I think it'll start to bridge the intergenerational barrier. It'll offer opportunities and volunteer opportunities and employment opportunities for a range of people. Very interested and excited about the different types of apprenticeship opportunities. I mean, Durham, they're in a good place at the minute in terms of youth employment and youth opportunities, because there was just awarded £13 million from European Social Fund to train and look to over £5,500. 5,500 young people over a 2.5 year period. Now with the introduction, if we get the radio station up and running, the recording studio up and running, you can imagine how many opportunities there is for learning in that environment. Sound technicians, video technicians, you've got radio presenting skills, catering opportunities. There's a whole range of opportunities for volunteers and apprenticeships. It has come from the bottom up, and luckily we are getting supported through the elected members and the local town council, and we're in the process of putting in a number of bids to grant organisations. I'm in the process of just completing the health lottery bid, which I was invited to put in the full application after I'd submitted the initial application. We're looking at RD, Regional Development Fund money for the building itself. It's slow, but we're getting there. Oh yeah, it is. I mean, my grandfather said when I was a kid, he says, Kevin, he says, no use just trying to grab the air in front of you. He says, reach for the stars, he says. You just might grab a handful of cloud. You know, and that's my attitude in life. If something worth going for, go for it full-hearted. If you don't make it, change path as you're going. You know, it doesn't just collapse around you. You just take a different path to get to where you want to be. Oh, growing up in Stanley, I loved it. I had a large group of friends, still in touch with most of them now. I mean, I spent most of my time down the woods building camps. Everybody knew everybody's next door neighbour. You used to have, well, whoever was having tea, that's where you used to head for. You know, I can remember on a Sunday, me and my friend, I'll not mention his name because he might not want to be noted, but there was about 3 of us, and we all used to congregate to one of our friends because she used to make, what was it? Rhubarb crumble every Sunday. So she would always have about 20 kids having rhubarb crumble outside the Pigeon Cree on a Sunday afternoon during the summer holidays. We loved that. But we spent most of our times outside making bogies out of old prams. You didn't see old prams knocking about now, but we used to make go-karts. Few accidents, you know. You ever been down Durham Road on a go-kart? That's pretty hairy stuff, mind you, that. But we had no fear when we were kids. And we used to do the tatey picking during, you know, the when the tatties were ready, and asparagus doing Lanchester. We used to make our own money, and, you know, we didn't have computers, we didn't have Game Boys or anything like that, but I personally had, and I'm sure I'm speaking for hundreds of people my age, we had a really, really good time when we were kids, you know. And I was brought up with a single mother, but we had a very matriarchal family, and it was mainly women in our family, other than me and my brothers and a couple of cousins. But they were very much mother and fathers, so there was a lot of support there. You had the feminist support that you needed as a child, but also the discipline, especially from with my family, because the discipline come from me grandmother, who was 5'1", Irish descendant, and as hard as nails, but in kind discipline at the same. You know, I enjoyed Stanley, I still do. The Roma Calf, Moscadini's and Bovies down in Southmore. I used to visit them all. Particularly like the Roma Calf because it had you know, like a 60s, 70s style theme with the booths and the frosted glass above them in the booths, so you couldn't quite see to who was sitting in the next booth, but there was clear parts within the frosted glass, and we always used to squint through there just to see if there was any girls there more than anything else. And like I said, the pinball machines, they were always on, and, you know, no video gaming, just pinball machines. And